Okay, it's time to do a little bit of nitpicking about the new Final Fantasy set, or should I say one specific small part of it that I just cannot get over. I talked about a full list of the previews thus far yesterday, and I'm pretty hyped for a lot of it from a commander perspective. So you want to hear a more positive outlook on it all, you can see that in yesterday's video. Also, I'm not ignoring the price. I've been very vocal about the price before, and I'll probably be talking about that in future videos this week or next as well. So don't worry, I'm not ignorant to the fact that this set is incredibly expensive. But what I do want to talk about is the Through the Ages sort of frame, or lack thereof. These are essentially the special guest slot for Final Fantasy. They're available in non-foil in-play boosters and collector boosters, and traditional foil versions are available only in collector boosters. So it's nice to have them in both boosters. I do dislike it when they remove parts of the game to put them only in collector boosters, because I feel like it's too much of a lottery sort of buy into the rather expensive side of Magic to get there. Again, the borderless character cards that strike a pose, as they put it in the article, these are available in the play boosters, just the fancy foils and surge foils and such are only in the collector boosters. I'm okay with that. But on that note, this Cloud here, Cloud X Soldier in the frame with a number behind him and the color gradient, it's not even a gradient, it's a solid color. I really like this. This looks like a Magic card, but it's also very much Cloud. This is a good looking Magic card in my humble opinion. And that's the important point about this video. I'm going to talk about some objective issues that I have with it. I say objective, again, they're still subjective in the sense that are they even an issue, but I'm also going to talk about the subjectivity of the aesthetics of what cards look like and art. So a lot of what I'm going to say is personal opinion, but it's my channel, I can do that if I want. Also, bear in mind, you can watch this and disagree with me and tell me in the comment section. That's also completely and utterly fine. It's a weird thing where sometimes people disagree with me and thus they have to unsubscribe. If you're one of those people, I guess I'm never winning you over. But the Through the Ages cards, essentially to me, look like custom cards. They look like they haven't had the, I'm going to dare I say it, the care and attention of normal Magic cards or even Secret Lair or Special Frame Magic cards. What I mean by this is that in the case of Cloud X Soldier, the framing, the mana symbols, the positioning of the art over that background, all of this is a careful and considered artistic choice. There is a choice going on with these. The choice is a minimalistic element that is, I guess, trying to ape the artistic style of certain surrounding media from Final Fantasy. I apologize in advance for this terrible quality of the art, but I found this on Reddit. I'm not exactly sure of the original source. But this is the Emperor Hell Tyrant, which is also the name of another card in the set that flips into the Hell Tyrant. The name is very close, but this is a reskin. This is a Universes Beyond version of a Universes Within thing. The Emperor Hell Tyrant in this case is Yawgmoth Thran Physician, which according to the comments of the Reddit thread is a reasonable flavor win. I don't know. That doesn't really matter to me because I'm not that into Final Fantasy. The frustration is that A, this doesn't look like it's really a real Magic card. Now that is a loaded point, I know. What does a real Magic card even look like? Wizards of the Coast have purposefully and quite openly moved away from trying to make everything look like Magic cards. Secret Lairs especially and special slots in boosters can allow for some really wild artistic treatments, art styles, frames, UI elements, all that sort of stuff. I get it. I know that's not really, it's still a complaint, right? A lot of us, myself included, don't want Magic cards to look like Magic cards, but this seems empty. I don't like, personally, all of this space, especially with the lack of a backing color and similar. And like I said, I think it's trying to ape the surrounding media of the Final Fantasy franchise, like, for example, this card for the Emperor in the Final Fantasy card game. This is where it starts to really bug me. Previously, I thought these looked like poor quality proxies. Someone has taken some art and they have failed to merge it onto a decent background or similar via Photoshop, and it's just a bad looking proxy. Bearing in mind, even the ones that aren't like that, like this Endwalker, this looks like a bad proxy to me as well. I guess the art for this, the art looks very much like wallpaper you would find on a wallpaper website if you were 12 years old and wanted a Final Fantasy 14 wallpaper. Am I being too harsh? That might be too harsh, I'm not sure. But why does the Emperor look like it makes more sense in the Final Fantasy frame? Is it the gradient-ish? The gradient's not the right word. The texture behind it? Does that improve it significantly? Ultimately, these are inoffensive, I guess is a good way to put it. I don't look at them and think they're the ugliest thing I've ever seen, like some people reacted to the piss cards from Aether Drift, which I end up quite liking because they're so obnoxious, they sort of bend full circle boomerang around for me and become a very funny trinket. Piss cards. I'm really not joking. I've started to pick up the lands and stuff to start up a commander deck project because I find them so redonkulous. They're such an absurd part of visual design. I guess they go so far outside the limits of Magic, they look absurd. But in spite of that, they still look like Magic cards. There's some conventions that are held in there alongside the absurdity of the super golden piss color that helps you realize it's still a Magic card at the end of the day. I think that combination, that contrast is what makes them exciting and different enough for me to enjoy. Meanwhile, back to these, I just can't help but think it looks like a worse version of a card that already exists in a different card game. And that's not really where I want my Magic promos and fancy versions to be. The wonderful thing about the current state of Magic is that I don't have to engage with these if I don't want to. I don't need to get these. There will be other versions of this card. Oh, namely the actual Magic version. I guess in the case of where these look as bad as I think they do, I actually love that they're reskins. Reskins meaning that they are existing cards already. The Endwalker that I showed you earlier was Brainstorm. This is Yawgmoth, Thran Physician. So I can just play the old school traditional, and by old school I mean a fucking Modern Horizons card. I can't believe I'm calling a Modern Horizons card old school and traditional when they've broken away from so many design principles of Magic in hideously overpowered ways. But either way, I'm going to play the card on the right here 100 times over the card on the left, unless my objective is to make my deck look like a pile of shit. However, some of them actually do have gorgeous art in them, like art that I love. The Dragon of Mount Gold is a reprint of Ancient Copper Dragon, a absolutely needed reprint. This card is astronomically expensive. Like $90 for the cheapest one? Holy shit. This Final Fantasy one is going to be very, very expensive. I assume probably at least $90 itself, if not more. So one of the few cards that's currently pre-ordering for a price I don't think is actually absurd. This artwork, which I believe is called like Light Soldier versus Dragon or something similar from Final Fantasy 1, it's just so evocatively Final Fantasy. It's so evocatively that slightly Japanese twist on the fantasy that Final Fantasy once was before it went into the real steampunk, techie, weird space it's in now. But like this art is so evocative of a certain time period of both video games and tabletop games to an extent that I believe I've seen this before, and I might have done on my 30 plus years of traveling through gaming spaces and nerd arenas. Perhaps I have seen this before, even if I'm not a Final Fantasy fan. And if I haven't, it's just like it's so akin to the old artwork, the front cover of the player's manual for D&D, Advanced D&D. It's so close to that kind of thing that I feel like I've seen it before, and I love that. But then we move it to this frame where it just doesn't look like a Magic card. Outside of the red pips, top right hand corner, I would not think this is a Magic card. I guess the red pips plus the power and toughness kind of make it look a Magic card, but ultimately it looks almost nothing like a Magic card in a way that I find not exciting. It's not provocative or interesting. It's in some sort of middle ground limbo between like, this looks like a Magic card and this is absolutely wild shit. Like this Mount Doom, it has grown on me over time. This is a Mount Doom that I believe was only available in the Christmas collector boosters. I don't fucking know. Keeping track of that stuff for sets that came out in the past is absolutely insane. Magic is so confusing from a collector and like historian standpoint of where things came from. Anyway, not all of these are up my street. The R one in particular is rather gratuitous. Like, I don't think I can read this. No, I can read it. Given time and energy, I can, but I just don't want to. And I think R1's a wonderful Magic card, by the way. I love this card in Cube. What a great green-white sort of low to the ground aggro card. Big fan of this card. But this Mount Doom is splashy and it's fucking wild. It evokes, again, the surrounding peripheral materials of Lord of the Rings, whilst also looking like a Magic card. Maybe not, to be fair, but I think it just goes a bit above and beyond in a way that is interesting. Meanwhile, the minimalism of this doesn't do it for me, but that might just be a design aesthetic, a design principle borrowed from Final Fantasy and its surrounding media that I just don't get. It doesn't vibe with me. The one thing that I was thinking about, how could they improve it? Because by the way, like this is the art I want for Ancient Copper Dragon. This art is so unbelievably good, like fucking iconic. Even though I'm not even sure if I'd seen it before that it was put on this card. What a weird way of looking at it. Is that truly iconic? But I think it's the lack of a middle bar or a set symbol. I think that's the thing that really makes it feel like a medium quality proxy. Like, why do none of these have fucking set symbols? It's really strange to me. Like, there is a set symbol for this set. It's in the fucking preview article talking about collecting the set. There's like a Final Fantasy set symbol, there's a Final Fantasy Commander symbol, there's a Final Fantasy Through the Ages expansion symbol, I think. This fucking little, I don't know what this is. It's not a chocobo, right? I don't know. Rabbit dog? But either way, it's completely and utterly absent from these cards. They have no set symbols. And then we get to the real juicy bit. The ones that just look like shit, in my opinion. Zidane Dribble, who's a Ragavan, that's a thing we can talk about quickly as well. And Yuffie Kisaragi, who is a Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow. This ninja lady with a giant ninja star being the ninja commander. That makes sense. Zidane is a part pirate monkey, I think. I think he's a pirate. I think he's part monkey, and now he's Ragavan. There's also this Joshua Rossfield, who's like a little child with a phoenix, who's Rograk, son of Rogra, which means that this little child, or this phoenix bird, is a kobold warrior. I do not understand. This cannot be a flavor win, right? I know they have to take liberties a little bit. I've done an entire fucking video about the Green Goblin not being an actual goblin. In some ways, I like the idea of them going fucking wild with it, like this little child's a kobold, metaphorically, than the very softly, this guy's a goblin, and everyone who's not really knows anything about Spider-Man thinks he's literally a goblin when he fucking ain't. But yeah, the Joshua and the monkey thing is just a bit weird to me. Anyway, back to the art. Side tangent on the art, this Joshua, this looked bad. I think maybe it's just the original art, the Square Enix digitally rendered. We don't know who actually made it. It's even attributed just to Square Enix. More on that in a moment. I just think this is bad. Also, could the text not be further down the fucking card? Could not be like at the lower part of the card near the 0-1. I love the way we got a color reminder in the furthest left part of the card next to legendary creature, which might make it actually look like a red magic card because it doesn't have a red mana cost at the top because it's a 0 mana card, and thus without any mana pips to tell us what color it is. But we have this little ball instead, which exists on the real cards, I know, but on the real cards, and by real cards I mean magic cards, these are all real cards, I guess, you know, and as much as things can be real if you want to get truly philosophical about it, but the frame tells us it's red beyond just the dot, doesn't it, usually? This doesn't even have a frame, so we have to absolutely certainly have that dot, otherwise we'd have no idea what color this is. This is kind of egregious. Is it far enough to push it into the realms of, you know, Mount Doom or Piss Guard? No, because I also hate the aesthetic of the rather bland CGI child with a bird that I'm surprised people aren't AI investigating this. I know it's not AI, but this is the kind of shit that people would post about on Twitter, saying it's AI when it isn't, and you have to roll your eyes and please ask people to kindly stop AI investigating everything that's slightly CG looking. Off the tangent and back to where we were, Yuffie and Zidane have this style where it's, I don't exactly know what Zidane is. I know the Yuffie art comes from like the guide that came out around the release of the Final Fantasy VII on the PS1. Zidane looks like it's from a guide or perhaps the manual. These are some old school classic concept arts that have a really derpy look to them. Both Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy IX had that chibi look. It kind of follows through to the chibiness of this concept art, splash art sort of thing going on. Ultimately, I know the Yuffie is classic. I mean, I remember seeing this somewhere in my youth, tangentially absorbing like Final Fantasy through osmosis. I wasn't really a Final Fantasy fan, although I was aware of it being a video gamer buying video game magazines back in like the late 90s and early noughties. But they both just look shit to me. Like, why is there not just a fucking mild gradient in the background? I know it's trying to provoke or evoke something Final Fantasy-esque, that fucking guide back in the day. But let me show you Firion Swordmaster. The plain white background of this looks so much better than the teal blue of Zidane Tribal. Weird, I know. And then, but then Firion, if you want to get into that note, why the fuck is the text not lower? I know it's kind of trying to have legendary creature dwarf advisor go through the sword, but the sword is slightly off in terms of its like parallel to the text. Could you not have rotated the art slightly to get that parallel with the line of the blade? Or just slide it down the card? Why does this and that shitty looking CGI kid that's meant to be a kobold, why is the text so fucking high up on these cards? You've got this massive space to play with, you're removing the entire frame, you don't even have a crossbar for the card, yet the text has to for some reason arbitrarily sit up in the middle of the card? Why? And with the Zidane, this like red mana symbol floating out in the ether to the right of it looks really funny to me. I think it's like the rule of like, it's not the rule of thirds, is it? It's the idea of like when you make thumbnails and when you do art, and they're not really one and the same, you're meant to consider grid-based spacing, right? You're meant to put grids over your art and your images and your photographs, or at least mentally do that to understand the framing. That's probably the word I'm looking for. The framing of the art piece, the photograph or similar. This feels like no consideration was done to that because the framing is thrown off by the left non-centered text. Again, could centered text fix this? Why aren't we centering text in these massive open spaces, these negative spaces? This looks so bad to me. But on the upside, these are all like classic pieces of art that have got the original artists credited outside of CGI child that's meant to be a kobold, which is good because we saw a little bit of shitness with that in Warhammer. For the majority of the time, we got, you know, good existing GW artists or great magic artists like Darkin here, getting to do their rendition of Be'lakor, the Dark Master, an iconic Warhammer card. And by card, I mean character. God, I'm magic pilled. But then we also got like Defenders of Humanity that shows a semi-iconic picture of like a chapter getting together from one of the codices from an existing piece of media. It's been repurposed for this card, and it's a tribute to Games fucking Workshop, because Games Workshop have this horrible history as a extra bit of context of like erasing the existence of artists across their media, including even the presenters of their own shows on their web portal. They don't want other people to get famous for their input on Warhammer. They want Warhammer to be a Games Workshop production, not the culmination of artists and creatives and designers, and that sucks. So I'm glad they've learned that from Warhammer, moving forward to other intellectual properties like this. And so there's only a small amount of Square Enix attributed art. We only saw a little bit with BBC Studios with Doctor Who as well, so they are getting better at that. Props for that. And the one like horrible, terrible example of this, I think, for the Warhammer decks that also helps contextualize a lot of the points I'm making in this video is that the Golden Throne, this artwork here, is by an artist called John Blanche, who is absolutely the godfather, the progenitor, the important fucking man upon the hill when it comes to the Grim Dark. Without John Blanche, we don't have all of this incredible Warhammer artwork. He was one of the original concept artists and ongoing artists for the first few editions of the game, with little bits of dipping in here and there, which may help to make Warhammer what it is. This iconic cover from the 3rd edition starter set with the Black Templars that has basically informed a lot of 30-year-old men's like hobby time. This is a classic John Blanche. This is Canoness Viridian, who at the time didn't have a name, but they've since made a model of. And this is from the 2nd edition book for Sisters of Battle, and it is basically the image that pops into my head when someone mentions Sisters of Battle. So then to have Games Workshop replace the words John Blanche at the bottom of this with just Games Workshop, because this foundation of the Emperor stuck upon the Golden Throne has become part of the corporate landscape that is Warhammer 40k, is incredibly cringe, to say the least. I fucking hated this. Absolutely fucking hated this. But at least the Golden Throne here is positioned within the frame of a Magic the Gathering card. I do think that taking the art assets that already existed from other card games, or in this case, a publication attached to a miniature tabletop war game, I do think it's a little bit shit because it does feel like a copy-paste job that doesn't have that new creative element that we get by seeing the elements of a world we know and love recreated by classic Magic artists. Like seeing Magali go absolutely fucking batshit crazy with some absolutely stunning art in the Final Fantasy set is one of the best things about the Final Fantasy set. But that said, getting the John Blanche Golden Throne in the Warhammer thing was a fucking, I guess, a tingling moment. Like, this art is so important to 40k. So to see it on a Magic card, it made sense to be one of the key tentpole, the key cornerstones of the set. And then to frame it within a Magic the Gathering frame as well. It's like the marrying of the two into perfect harmony and one corner of this product. But when we have art taken from another card game, put onto one of our cards, our frame completely removed, and then it trying to ape the style of the other card game and failing, looking worse. I don't know, man. It just looks fucking shit. I've been Vince, also as PleasantKenobi on the internet. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you like the cut of my jib and my silly little rants, why don't you join my Patreon? There's a link down below for £2 English or $2, I think, depending on where you live. You can join that, get on my Discord server where we can talk about cum. That's right, cum. And it helps me to continue making videos and making this kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed the video. And in the meantime, kiss your mother goodnight for me. Ta-ta for now.